Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Audiomo Podcast. Today, I have a new guest with me, similar to the one that I did with Evan a few weeks ago. I have a viewer that has become a friend of mine, and he's probably my proudest achievement out of everything I've done on YouTube, and you'll understand why in a minute. But without further ado, I have Rafa with me. How are you doing today, Raf?
I'm doing all right. A lot of planning was needed to get this happening, especially in the household because I'm going on holiday tomorrow. But I'm really glad to be here and finally have a chance to talk to you other than through text and messages.
Where are you going on holiday?
Well, I'm very unoriginal. I'm just going to Portugal, to the Algarve. I do have some family there, so it's not a real holiday. But, it's trying to put everything together. It's been a couple of years since I've gone there. My grandparents haven't met my daughter and stuff, so it's a 2-in-1 package.
That definitely counts as a holiday, I would say. Even though it seems mundane to kind of go back home, so to speak.
Yeah.
When you haven't done it in that long, especially when you have kids involved, it's really magic when, your extended family gets to finally meet them. But, yeah, I'm excited for you. You're going to have a lot of fun with it. And leading into what I wanted to talk about with you, I said that I was the most proud, and this isn't to pat myself on the back because it really was. No, I really mean that. It's because when I started doing YouTube, I didn't look at it in the way of I want to be gear YouTuber. I want to do this. I want to do that. Mm-hmm. I wanted to talk to people about music. I wanted to encourage people that were just starting because at the start of the lockdowns and all that, a lot of people picked up guitar. Encourage people to want to learn and then to eventually to go out and play. You have started to do that. So why don't you tell me a little bit about your musical journey and where you're at now?
Well, it all started many moons ago when I was 14, 15, but you don't want all the details most likely because it's very boring. But basically, what happened was I had a guy that was learning drums in my class, and his teacher was willing to give lessons for free, which now looking back might look a bit shady, but the guy was really cool actually. He was just a really cool guy that had the opportunity to give a few lessons. So he taught me the chords and some scales and how notes worked and stuff. And from the beginning he said, guitar is a accompaniment instrument. You sing and you play guitar. That was his mindset. So I started taking guitar to school, like a classical guitar, all with huge action and stuff, taking to school and playing. Not singing, because singing was never my strong suit. But the girls would sing, so it was cool.
Yeah.
And then many years later, it was most, playing cowboy chords, playing songs, playing popular songs. I then moved to the UK. I made some friends here that were playing electric guitar. I had an electric guitar and a Roland Cube 30 XL, I think, in Portugal, which was the black guitar that I have I've shared, but not on YouTube yet. It's to come. That was a handmade here in the UK, pitback guitar. But it wasn't really good because the frets were all over the place, they were a bit sharp, so they actually had to be high. So that's when I started playing guitar here, started playing electric guitar, then I started looking at scales and riffs and solos. A couple of years ago, looking at other YouTubers, what they were doing, like even Philip McKnight, he said he was having lessons, so the idea of having lessons once again drew it all into my mind, so I started having lessons. And then after a while, I had lessons, I knew how to play chords, and I could sing along, I'm not a singer, but I can sing. So I started to think, what's the next step? What's the point of all this? In one of those highs and lows that we all have with gear of, I want to sell everything because there's no point, or I need to buy everything because I need one of each to record an imaginary records that it's never going to happen. I started to think maybe I should try playing live. A couple of years I had played at work, in a work meeting. I sneaked my way, snuck a guitar into work, and then it was like, oh, you should play for us. It's like, yeah, sure, I'll play for you. And there was a guy that actually organizes festivals in my team as his hobby. And he thought, yeah, of course I can find you a slot. So this idea of having someone locally that could put me in front of an audience was there. And he didn't say no straight away, so I knew it was kind of possible. So that's when I decided to record myself. I recorded myself singing and playing, and initially I was cringing at it because it was not really good, but as time went on, I felt like I was getting better, and that's when I sent the video to you asking what you thought. And Jim said, "It's horrible, quit right now."
Exactly. That's exactly what I said.
No, you actually were very supportive. You even said you've seen people getting paid and doing worse, which I thought, well. And you have to think, or anyone that's watching, maybe you're in the same scenario as me, because in the UK or in America, these open mic nights that exist are very common. But for many countries, in Europe, in other places, it's not that common. You don't see live music as much as you did once. Live music, you think of a perfect performance. So the idea that you need to be perfect stops you from start doing it. Because there's very rare occasions where you can actually play in a serious manner. It's not just to your friends or to your family. It's basically what I'm looking for. There's not many formal occasions where you can play to people and have honest feedback from strangers. So here in Blackpool, there are open mic nights, there are festivals. I started seeing people play live and it's like, oh, they're not that great, they're not perfect, they do mistakes. It's achievable, it's not a huge step, it's just a small step. So I started going to open mic nights.
That's what it's all about, though. That's what it's all about. And that's the hardest part of all of this is I've seen people with immense talent. But for whatever reason, they kind of fall into the same trap mentally of, if I'm not perfect or I'm not as good as these people. And I think a lot of it has to do with the way that the modern culture is and the internet and Instagram and all that. You see these people where it's like, it's almost unachievable in many ways, some of the stuff they post. But what gets lost in that, first of all, is you don't know how many takes it took for them to get that perfect performance. That's, people just assume they pick up the guitars and do it. No, I've seen guitar gods like Eric Johnson struggle through licks and then just work it out. And the other part of it is just, getting that confidence to be like, the only way to get better at anything is just get up and do it. And I thought it was so great that I went from looking at your little things, you're like, I don't know, like, I don't think I'm good enough to do it. And I was just like, you're not gonna do it ever then. Like, you have to just stand up, you have to go to the open mic. The worst thing that happens is you suck.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? It's okay. You get better next time. That's the way to do it. And now you're gigging on a really regular basis, right?
Yeah, I'm going every week, and people are really supportive because other people that are there, if they were amazing, if they were gods, let's say, they wouldn't be in an open mic night. They would be selling tickets for hundreds a head. So everyone is really supportive usually, and it is like you're saying. It takes time. We see these people online. We don't know how long it took them. We don't know how long they're playing. We don't know what sort of training they've had. But everything in music takes time. So that's when sometimes we say, oh, we can do this in half an hour. It takes time to listen to the songs, to learn how to play them, to get good at it. And then performing a song live is completely different than performing it at home. You can even have the kit, but the volume, the nerves, you're standing, you have faces looking at you, some are smiling, some are ignoring you, there's a football game match going on, there's someone playing darts like yesterday, people are having dinner. It's completely different than, you're just in your room, focus on what you need to do. And I think this is where talent comes in. Some people pick up things really quickly. They don't need 2 hours to learn a song, they can learn it in 5. But if you don't have that ability, it's okay. Small steps. I take my tablets with lyrics. Is it great for a performance standpoint? Probably not. Does it sometimes hinder my ability to go from one song to the other and to be as connected to the audience as possible? Yes, most likely. But at least I'm working on the other things. I'm working on playing in time, trying to sing properly. And then I listen to myself as well. And then I can kind of check, oh, these notes are a bit out of order, or I should really be paying attention to the chords that I was playing or to the line. But other times I feel like I hit a note I wasn't expecting to. I like at home with people around, with your wife next door and the kids trying to sleep, and I'm not gonna shout the end of Don't Look Back in anger, but yesterday I did, and it wasn't terrible. So you find stuff out.
That's the best. I love hearing it. Now, I have a question for you, because I feel like this is a perspective that I'm not often going to get from a lot of people, because most of the people that I've played with have been doing it for such a long time. You're still fresh to this, and you also started with your YouTube, uploading little things about gear reviews and stuff like that. How has your perspective, because it's absolutely changed, how has your perspective on gear changed since you've actually gone out and started to play at volume?
It's completely different. It's massively different. Like, we tend to talk a lot about specs, about feel, about the nuance of sound, but when you're playing through a PA that is extremely bassy, and you're trying to play the song so the audience doesn't realize that if you're stopping for a little bit, you need to get the song going. You're not gonna get the pickup right in between 4 and 2 in the middle to a solo. I have the helix, all the patches and all the pedals. I barely have time to sing and to play. Moreover, like tap dancing across different snapshots. Oh, you can have 3 snapshots with different delays. Pfft, who cares? It's good. Like, even feel of the guitar. As long as I was playing the other day, and I took the guitar half a step tuned down to E flat, because I wanted to play Lenny into Little Wing, then record the chords for Little Wing on a loop, and then do the solos and sing along, which was very ambitious for my skill level, but it kind of worked. So I took the Strat half a step down, and I thought, it's gonna be fine. I'm just gonna put the capo on the 1st fret for the songs that are in standard, right? The problem with that is that capo on 1st messes all the bar chords from the 5th to the 9th if you're not used to it. And no one thinks about these things if you're not playing live. Because I was playing and I was like, where are the chords? Because if you put it on capo on 2, for example, you have the markers that go from 3, 5, 7. It is kind of, the 1, 5, 7, or, From 1, it's a really strange place to go. But I would have never realized this if I hadn't been playing live and in the moment learning, there's no point in looking, just kind of here. So it's I'm looking maybe, not with disdain, but a lot of things that people say, like there's these 2 middle-aged guys here in the UK that talk a lot about gear and the extreme nuance of pedals. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Oh, Dan and Mick?
Maybe, possibly.
The pedal
likely.
show?
Yes. So, which is cool, and in a studio environment, maybe that's really important. But once I started playing, like, there's no point. There's no point in having all this nuance and detail, because unless you're really good, I think that's for a level above what I'm currently doing, or 2 or 3 levels above what I'm currently doing. And the reality is there's a lot of people online, like myself, like I was, that like guitars and like gear, but we're talking things that we don't really realize that we need to start playing before that becomes a worry in itself.
Mm-hmm. I think you're exactly right. And one topic that I think is definitely worth addressing here is people have this image in their head, even if they're just planning on going to play at an open mic or something like that, that they need 16 pieces of gear to be able to go out and play that gig. And I don't know if it is because there's just so much influence on YouTube and they see these people using such huge pedal boards and such complicated patches on whether they're using a Helix or whatever it is that's doing the modeling for them. I've always been somebody, even well before the digital stuff came out, I wanted things simple because if I could just have 1 or 2 pedals, like a tuner pedal and then a drive or maybe one effect, and then I get the majority of my sound out of the amp, I don't have anything to worry about. Yeah. All I can worry about at that point is just playing. And, the barrier to entry really isn't as high as people might really make it out to be. How do you feel about that?
I totally agree with you. We do have this idea that, I need an overdrive, a distortion, a fuzz, obviously, a chorus, delay, reverb, maybe 2 types of reverb.
Yes.
But it's not the case for most. The effects that I use yesterday I used. Let's just put it like this. Yesterday I used delay, around 240 milliseconds or an 8 delta, depending on stuff, just to feel a bit more the space. And in a couple of songs I used chorus because it was a 12 string used on the song, and I used chorus to emulate that. Reverb is always set, but you could get these three effects on a single Valaton or whatever Chinese thing and plug it straight into piano cat volume. The other day I took a Roland Street Cube. I don't know if you know the ones that are battery powered, the smaller one. The guy mic'd it, and that's what I played, and then I heard back to it, and it sounded actually quite good. Aaron Shorts even asked me, "Oh, what you playing through?" It's like a Roland Cube Street, which is 200 quid in the best days. So it is the price of gear, of good gear, of gear that is usable, is really low at the moment. I just think we need to be careful about gear that doesn't work properly. Like you're often saying about offset guitars that are not fit for purpose, or even Strats with tremolos that are not fit for purpose. If it doesn't work, it's a bit of a waste of money. But if it does work, if it does the job, the barrier to entry is much, much lower these days, I think.
Yes, and there's so many good options out there where you could really, for about 400, 500 quid or something like that, the equivalent, you could almost have everything you need to just go out and play, so long as you're not going out and spending full price on this stuff. I really do encourage people to buy things used and on bargain, especially because there's so many people that buy things and then they never follow through in the way that you have. And so eventually, you know, they have the conversation with their wife or their significant other or with themselves, and they're like, look, I bought all this stuff with this plan that one day I was going to be playing at bars or here. It's been 3 years. I'm never going to do it. I'm just going to sell it. The stuff just sat in there. They're flat, and they'll take whatever money they can get for it. There's a lot of good opportunity out there, and you know, given the fact that it can be intimidating when you're shopping right now, and right now it's NAMM as we're filming this, the prices of the new stuff, man,
it's outrageous.
It is unbelievable how expensive it is. So any way that people can save money, you don't need to spend all of this money. And it's almost like, I feel like it's like a graduation process. Like the longer you've done this, because I've gigged, oh my God, I've gigged since the late 90s at this point now. So I the only reason I have kind of the specifics I have is just because I've had so much trial and error, and I can't put a price tag on that. Like there's no way to quantify that. Like, but now it's really easy for me for when I'm shopping for gear. I'll know within 5 minutes if it's something I can use or not use, whether it is like $100 thing or a $2,000 thing. Like just because something is expensive doesn't mean it'll work.
And I was going to say something and it flared out of my head.
It's okay.
What I was going to say is that... What was it? The price of things new. I remember. Okay. And there's loads of shops that sell used stuff that still have a warranty or have a short return period. So if you don't feel comfortable buying from someone directly... although
Yes.
Reverb and eBay have, you know, all the warranties and everything that are associated with them, but still you don't feel. There are shops that are selling stuff used that you can then return or sell locally, because shops with used stuff have always existed, but now it's online. So here, and you have Guitar Center there, and here you have Guitar, and most shops now. Even Andertons, I've bought a couple of things from the Andertons page. They really misprice moduling units for some reason, but either way, something I've noticed. So that's a good entry point, absolutely, to get, you know, a guitar, because there's something to be considered. There's nothing wrong. I'm not saying that's anything wrong with liking gear. If you just want to like guitars and your playing experience is limited, but you enjoy playing what you like and you enjoy having a nice wall or feeling different guitars or hearing different guitars, like just picking a Telecaster and playing a country lick, or getting an SG and playing AC/DC, and that makes you feel happy, go for it. By any means, we're not saying that is wrong. What you're saying is that sometimes we justify purchases and having things with imaginary scenarios. Is that the word?
Yes, that is.
That might or might not happen. And the first step is go out there because it's really fun. And that's, I think, something that sometimes gets lost. It's like, it can be scary and you can be nervous, but it's really fun. Like yesterday, I played Take Me Home, Country Roads by John Denver, which is a really big hit in the UK for some reason. They're singing like when they at the end of the national team football matches and stuff, which blows my mind because it's an American song about Shenandoah Valley. Either way. But the whole pub was singing it, and you feel the joy and the glory of everyone enjoying what you're doing, and you feel like you're contributing to the atmosphere, to the vibe, like the young kids say these days. And it's great, and that's why people do it. That's why there are so many musicians, and it's why there's this passion. I think we just sometimes misplace the focus on gear rather than the doing, because we just don't know any better. I didn't know any better. I thought that, it's part of it. It's, buying stuff and selling the stuff, which is fun as well. But that is overshadowed by when you're actually doing it and you feel like, oh, there's a point to this. There's a point for me having 3 different guitars because I like to take them to the shows. Because I don't think what you're saying as well invalidates you having a collection. If you don't have a collection, great. And something else, Jim, if I may. I didn't ask you about this. Certain guitars, the public recognizes. And they kind of see you and take a better appreciation for that, if that makes sense. So if you take a Telecaster, like I took the Butterscotch Blonde Telecaster, there's a couple of people who said, oh, great guitar. And then it's like, they don't know if it's if it's a Squire, if it's a player, if it's a performer, ultra, boutique, handmade by God himself. It's a Telecaster. So this idea it needs to be this specific because when I'm playing, people will recognize it. Yeah, there might have been a guy, possibly, that walked in and saw and noticed the truss rod that was plastic instead of walnut or rosewood. Mm-hmm. Sure, but for most people there's also this appearance, when artists put the cool outfits like Prince or Elton John or Elvis or whoever. Guitars sometimes are part of the outfit. If you want to play country songs, take a Telecaster. Can you do country with other guitars? Yes, for sure, absolutely. But in the general public's eye, sorry, that was the piece of ranting that I wanted to do that I couldn't do on my channel because no one would watch, so I just hijacked your channel to say this.
I don't care. That's good. No, but you're right, and I try to say that too. I try to tell people, just stop with the guitar stereotypes. Yes, maybe there are some guitar models that excel at certain things more so than other guitars, but that doesn't mean that any given guitar can't do certain genres. If I was out playing and I needed to play a country song, like one song my wife likes to sing is a song Jolene by Dolly Parton, and I could play that on the Jaguar.
Of course.
You would never associate that song with the Jaguar. It works just fine. It's not something where the audience is going to pick up. They don't watch YouTube to go to your concert or your gig or whatever it is and just be like, you're using the wrong guitar for this. Because the average person does not care. Does it look like you're having fun? Are you paying attention? Are you engaged with the audience? Are you really enjoying what you're doing? Like, those are the things that come across. And I will say this, I got to harp back on what you said, because the best feeling, I would gladly keep posting videos and have them get no views and have no more subscribers if it meant that I got to recreate that feeling of those moments when you are playing and the entire pub or the entire small venue or no matter where it is, even if it's an open mic, when everybody is singing along and having that fun. It is impossible to describe that to somebody that has never had that happen to them.
It's special. It is special. It's like validation that what you're doing is resonating with people. Yesterday, at the end, so what is happening? is that the open mic night that I'm going on Thursdays is not getting a lot of support. So it's just me and another guy that I actually convinced to start going that are doing the slots. So I did 20 minutes, I did another 20 minutes and so on, which is great for me to build experience and to try more songs and to try to extend the time that I'm on stage. So at the end we played a couple of songs together. We played Don't Look Back in Anger, we played Wagon Wheel, and then at the end it's like, can I just play another song? So I played Perfect by Ed Sheeran, which is a very, romantic, slow song. It can have a guitar or whatever instrument. No one really cares with that specific song. But I noticed there was a group of women that were on a night out. They were like a hands party or, just a girls' night out or something. And I said, I'm going to play this song and they're going to like it. And I played it, but they were a few tables back so I couldn't hear. So when I left the stage and the guy was like, oh, that last song that you like, it's really great. What is its name? It's perfect. Oh, yeah. They were singing it. It worked. And like you're saying, the audience interaction, and I think that's why in movies and when you're talking about rock stars and they're playing to arenas and they stop singing and just listen to the people. I was watching the Arctic Monkeys the other day on Glastonbury in 2007 and the beginning of When the Sun Goes Down, and the whole audience the whole public just singing that intro to them. They do it because they love it. They don't care that people pay tickets to see the artist, but if you really just wanted to listen to good music, you'd get a vinyl and a hi-fi system. You don't go to a show, to a gig, to a concert to see that. It's for that person-to-person interaction that's so hard to describe, that I've heard so many times and I never got it, and I started doing it and people start clapping or beating with their foot or smiling at you or singing the words, and you feel like it's so this is it. This is what it's all about. This is
yes. That's the point of all of it. That's the point of all of it. The only other thing, it's not on the same level. I won't say that. But when you start actually going into a recording studio and you're working on your own stuff, and you're playing at maximum volume, because the volume difference you record at is very different in a professional environment versus at home. It's kind of revealing in many ways, because when you're doing it, everybody's just watching you from the control room, and you're just kind of in the live room, unless you want to sit in the room, which I don't like doing, because then they're like right on top of you as you're tracking the guitar. That can make things a little weird. I'd like the space, but it's like you have to channel into a spot that it's similar to playing out live, because you can't prepare for that. The only ways you can prepare for it are to physically practice as much as you can, but there's no scenario that would mentally get you in that same state of mind. And I equate those two, because I feel like those are the two most important parts of playing, is going out and performing live, and then when you're ready and you have your own stuff, is really nailing it in the studio. Because again, these are feelings that you could hear people talk about them, but until you actually have it, and it's not the same as having a kid, but I didn't know what to expect, and you hear all these people talk about it, but once it actually happens to you, it's like, oh, I get it. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, I'm not saying they're equal. I'm just saying it's hard to understand until it happens.
It's not, it's not a scale of pleasure where everything fits in.
Yeah.
Or satisfaction or gratification. And you're probably right. And I think technology, in a way, has allowed us to start gigging with less gear, because you don't need to take a tube amp. We can just plug into the PA, because the PAs are good enough, and we can record on our computers using crappy headphones like I have now. But like you're saying, there are some things that the people from the past have enjoyed and have given them satisfaction, and that's what a lot of times we are chasing as well, even if you don't know it. I was listening to some old songs, some old Brazilian songs the other day in the car. I was like, oh, the audio is really lo-fi. You could almost hear, I don't know if it was ripped from an old vinyl or something like that. It was really lo-fi. And everything. Is this what people keep talking about, songs from the 60s and from the early 70s and from the 50s? But I don't think that I think we try to make connections between things. So, for example, that's why so many people say good music when I was younger. Yeah, sure, there was good music when you were younger, but you were also younger. You know, you're full of life, health, friends. You know, you were in love. So that's the connection that we make. And sometimes with going back to the gear and the connection between gear and playing live and experiences, we hear all these rock stars and all these people that were using old gear because that's what we could afford. So they say that was good, and then the next person comes along, tries it, and is like, oh, I need something else on top of this emotion that I'm feeling. So I need that old gear, and then it all translates into us chasing everything, the vintage spec that we want, or the specific pickup combination of Jazzmaster and Telecaster, something like that. Yeah, but it's interesting stuff. I do recommend it, and there is specific sounds. For example, one thing that I did realize is that two pickup guitars are great for people starting playing live.
Yes. Anything that can make your life easier is better. The less things to think about, the less switches, the less pedals that are on the ground. I feel like that's the way to do it. Just have a really good basic setup and you're good.
Even if you just have one pickup, it doesn't really matter. Yesterday I played the whole set. I didn't even change from the bridge because it was there and I was not fuffing about it. They're, like you're saying, simple is best. Simple is indeed best because it takes away from the worry and the stress and, you know, and you might mess up. That's a fact. If you're trying to look for things, because if you play a song enough times, you start. I do this. I think I'm not the only one. I'm thinking about other stuff while I'm singing and playing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think too much about other stuff while singing and playing, you lose track of what you're doing. It's like a really crappy superpower.
I have that problem when I'm playing guitar to cover songs and my wife is singing it, but the guitar doesn't change for basically the majority of the song. So I'll just kind of, I'll zone out a little bit and then I'll catch myself. And even if it's a song I've played 1,000 times, like it still happens. Like I just kind of get bored because there's nothing for me to think about. I'm not changing a tone. I'm playing the exact same way. So it is a battle to stay attentive so that you don't make any mistakes or anything like that. And when it comes down to having the one piece of gear, or you just said you stayed on the bridge pickup, one of the greatest guitar players of the modern day, in my opinion, and one of the original YouTubers before actually being a YouTuber. He used to demo for Fred and Americana. Now he plays with Bon Jovi. Phil X. He uses a one pickup guitar with a P90 in the bridge. Only thing he uses, there's no other. I think he has one over like boost pedal, but he uses the volume to get to his clean sounds. So the amp is always cranked, but if he wants to get it, he just manipulates the volume control. It's one less piece of gear. He's making the most out of what he has, and he absolutely rips. There's not many people that can play as well as him, and a lot of the best guitar players, I find, are the ones that make the most out of the least. Greg Cox is another really good example of that for as far as, you know, the kind of the known modern people these days.
Yeah, it's really, Phil X is really good. It's like, how does he come up? And Greg Koch is just plays sounds that I didn't even know they were possible to play on the guitar. I think maybe they are really talented in a way that it's hard to explain even how to get there. You know, it's the precision, but it's the taste. They play the right notes, but they're also original in their own way. But I will say maybe because they have separated their brains in a way that they don't worry about gear as much as other people do. So they have more bandwidth to focus on what to play and how to play it, which it's what I'm trying. It's not what I'm trying to do, but it leads me to what the next step is, because now I'm playing a lot of cowboy chords or a few bar chords up the neck. It's like, how can I make this a little bit more interesting? How can it be more musically rich? And also, but also, is there a benefit for the audience to do that? To put a few licks in between chords, a la Jimi Hendrix, or is it just leave it as it is, play the songs that people like, and be happy with it?
Yeah. You're a big John Mayer fan, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So John Mayer, while he was tracking Continuum, he talked about how at that point in his life, he was buying a ton of pedals. So when he actually went into the studio in New York City and he was going to start really laying down the tracks for that, he bought in just oodles and oodles and oodles of boxes full with all sorts of pedals and the vintage pedals and the Japanese made reissues ones, the correct ones, and all this stuff. And that process kind of like, he found some cool sounds out of it, but afterwards I was listening to him performing live, and he was talking about, just like, I just had this addiction to all this gear because I didn't know what else to do, and I was just kind of lost my way. And he since, I mean, I'm sure the guy's still, I think he uses a Fractal live or something like that. But the point being, he was able to identify, he's just like, I'm doing this now out of, for whatever reason, he couldn't even explain why. But it's a trap that it doesn't matter if you're just somebody on YouTube or somebody that doesn't even post to YouTube. If you just watch YouTube, you could fall into the trap of, I need this, I need this, I need this. Or you could be a huge megastar like John Mayer. It applies to all of us. It's just, you have to be able to catch yourself, you know what I mean? And be like, okay, do I actually need this? Or am I just buying this for the sake of buying it? It's a tough line to be honest with yourself at that point sometimes.
It is. Because there is satisfaction in buying, either we want to admit it or not.
Sadly, yeah.
That's why people with ADHD, that's something that I've been looking into, have sometimes, what's it called? They just buy stuff to when they're bored, or, you know, we hear about women doing shopping therapy, which is just going, and which we, as society, we are living a society that tends to sometimes plug some holes in our personality with buying stuff. But there is a place for that, if you can, if you're not putting anyone in a hardship, I guess. But that's not the focus of playing the guitar. The focus of playing the guitar is having fun. And if you can have fun with your friends or your family, which is also something important. Like, have you tried playing songs to your kids?
Oh, every day. Are you kidding me? Do you know how many, one of the little things that I've done with my daughter since the day that she was born, I do two things. First of all, if I sang some of the songs that we make up on the spot together, people would think I am an insane person. But like I memorize a lot of them, and it's so much fun. And I use them as exercises because I don't want to sit her down in front of the piano or with a guitar or be like, this is music, this is how we're gonna do this. No, it's like I take the more natural and the fun approach. So she's developed a really good ear for pitch without ever being like, okay, this is how you learn this. This is what you're learning and why you're learning it. And the other thing, that every night before she goes to bed, I lie down and she basically lines out at this point what she wants the story to be.
All right.
Just gives me the basic details. And we record it and we'll go back and we'll listen to it. And it's so much fun because it shows the creativeness. And now she's coming into her own where this creative side it's coming so naturally for her. You know what I mean? And I couldn't imagine not doing it and hiding that not hiding it, but just not involving my child in some sort of the creative process. I know it's tougher for some people, but I mean, it's something I'm really proud of.
It's actually very rewarding to see them learn by themselves when you're not forcing stuff to them. I sometimes pick up the guitar and I just play like 4 chords, basic 4 chords, and then I sing some crazy lyric, especially to my daughter because she understands. My son is only 7 months. And sometimes she's not could put words to it, but she hums along. Or sometimes I get the night books with the stories, and I try to sing to the stories, and then she kind of remembers it. Or if I say there's one of the books that says it has a jazz band in a closet. So I just do like a bit of scatting. Bips and boops. So the other day she was with my wife, and my wife was reading and she pointed and started making bips and boops as well. So she remembered that a jazz band makes bips and boops. And I think that's the greatest advantage that a lot of musicians have, is having not a musical family that plays and is a professional musician, but is having someone that likes music, that can show them music, and we as people that like music obviously and have instruments can show them music is accessible. You can play this, anyone can play this. Music can be fun, music can be complicated, but can be really simple. And it's just part of life. It's not a learning skill like you learn to drive or you learn to do accountancy. It's just like walking or singing, running, playing an instrument, playing hide and seek. It's all within the same level. If you could see that, a lot of us haven't been lucky to have that, but if you can at least instill that to our own, I think we'll be very rewarded when they start making their own stuff up. And you're like, that's not real music. In my time, real music was with 6 strings, not.
Well, I think you hit on 2 really good points here. One thing that you didn't say this, but one thing that kind of like rubs me the wrong way is when you can tell that a toddler is being forced to learn something, and not only are they being forced to it, the parents are filming it and then uploading it like on their behalf and all that stuff. It's like that to me. God, I don't really like that at all. Like that really gives me the wrong vibes. It's just like the thought of sticking, my daughter in front of this camera for YouTube, because granted, and this is part of being a YouTuber, you have to make conscious decisions here, whether it's doing something like that or making content that you might not necessarily like to make, or you might think is bad content. Quite frankly, there's no other way of saying it, but it'll get views. I think a lot of people may use their children, and in order to do that, and I think that that's so sad, because what that could result in is the child resenting music or something like that. And I think of Yvette Young. Do you know who she is? I think we started to talk about her in a Discord. Yeah, she was trained, and her parents were very hardcore about her learning and getting better and better, and then going to musical competitions. Yeah. I agree with what she said in an interview. She said there should never be such a thing as a musical competition, and I could not agree with that anymore. I don't think that any sort of art form should ever be based around competition, and just having that childhood where it was like that almost drove her entirely away from music, despite how talented that she naturally became from it. I worry about children like that are put in those kinds of situations, and but just hearing that you're doing it in a great way that's positive, and that there is, when they start picking it up, and you don't have to remind them, because it's one thing when you're like, show mama this, show mama that. When they do it on their own, you're like, you were actually listening to me, and now I'm smiling and I'm extra happy. Your wife looks at you like, yeah, don't pat yourself too hard on the back. You know what I mean? But it's true. But there's one last thing I wanted to ask you about today. We always talk about guitars. Just, it is what it is. Whether we're talking on Instagram or on Discord or in comments or on these videos, you have said that one of your biggest fears about going out and playing wasn't even the guitar itself, it was singing. Yeah. Now, you've also said you don't have any real, training background in that. So, let me know, how did you, what did it take for you to really get over the border and really push towards it? And what are you doing as a way to practice and improve at that skill?
Well, I'm practicing, but I'm not sure if I'm improving. But I think I am.
You are. You are.
Let's go back to my childhood, because my father used to sing around the house. So that's how he showed me music. He would sing songs in Portuguese and in Brazilian. So I always knew that singing was a natural thing. It wasn't just other people did it. Anyone can do it. But I think I have this theory that we men, our voices mature at a later stage. And sometimes we have a harder time getting our voice under control than women have from a younger age. Maybe I'm being generalistic, but that's how I feel like. If you're not trained, maybe if everyone was trained to pitch and tone, sure. But I just feel like women have this natural ability to sing more easily. I don't know, but it has been my experience to see, my wife has a beautiful voice. She can really sing, but I'm gonna say, but she doesn't like listening to a song many times and actually learning the song. It's more like karaoke singing,
Yeah.
which frustrates me immensely because she has the voice and she has the ear to listen to it, and she's hitting the right notes, but then will not know when it is to stop or to be more, more intense or less, or sometimes from verse to verse it changes. Either way, that's a side conversation that possibly I will hear about it when I finish this conversation with you. But but so I always struggle with hitting a note, staying on that note, and what I've been doing was I was recording myself, actually listening to the song initially, try to listen as close as I can to it, listen, and then try to replicate it. One very important thing that everyone talks about, but it's really hard to sometimes impart that if you don't have anyone with you telling you that. I actually had a friend that he was quite good at singing, and he told me about this, which is breathing. Breathing is essential, and breathing allows you to do things that you didn't know you could hit a certain note, low or high. And when people are singing informally or even live, if you're not breathing, that's why sometimes you hear voice cracks or going out of pitch very easily. And the first few gigs that I did, I wasn't breathing. I knew I should, but with the adrenaline and the excitement and everything, I was just going from words to words to words, so I wasn't breathing. So I had to think about it. I need to where I'm going to breathe, and when I'm singing, I need to so I can have the air to push. But have people around you that can listen to it. Like there's a singing Reddit subreddit. People are always posting stuff there. I never posted because I'm too self-conscious about it. But people post and ask for feedback. But I asked you for feedback. I've sent to this girl that I used to work with, and we did a gig once where I was playing guitar and she was singing. I asked, what do you think about this? I sold a guitar to a guy that he was in a band and he's managing a band. So I sent him the same link that I sent to you. I sent to him, like, what do you think about it? Do you think I should start doing open mic nights? And whatever possible opportunity that I had, I was asking other people what they think, but ask for honest feedback, which it's quite hard sometimes for people to give you, because no one wants to see like, oh, you're tone deaf, or you're out of tune, or you're out of pitch. If you think you can sing and you're not sure about it, just buy one single singing lesson, so someone that's a professional is able to tell you. Because I feel the more that you do it, if you have just a little bit of talent in the sense that you can match pitch, and you can have volume singing, it's something that's developed over time. And for guys, if you're younger, or if you feel like your voice is still not there, don't quit. There's still hope for everyone. Like the guy that I started inviting for the open mic night, when he first was going, was singing quite low and almost afraid, away from the mic. Yesterday, he was more confident. He was singing songs that required a bit more. He was singing louder. He was singing with more determination, because it comes with time. Like with playing guitar, you don't pick up guitar and just play all the chords without the buzzing and the that we all do when we start playing guitar, or when you're trying to play a solo and it's like, oh, I'm not bending correctly, I'm not hitting the right notes, it's not fast enough, it's all a mess. Singing is the same thing, it's a learned skill. Obviously, there are going to be people that are great from it almost from birth. They have great ears, they have great voice, and they can pick it really quickly. Others will need more work. Some people, unfortunately, can't sing. I have this belief, maybe I'm wrong, but like I have friends that really can't sing. It's like it's hard to do what they can because they're out of time and out of pitch. It's like, how did you manage to do that? It's actually harder. But
it is difficult, and I agree with you. I don't think that anybody can be a great singer, but I think that a lot of people that don't think they could be a good singer never try, because they're so worried that they'll never reach the level that they want to be at, that they would rather not do it at all. then be able to go out and have those good times and achieve those moments that we talked about earlier where you are interacting with the crowd. Because at that point, as long as you're in the ballpark singing Take Me Home, the whole crowd is behind you anyways. They're not going to hear you because they're going to be singing, and they're going to be far worse at singing because they're going to be drunk. So what is there to lose? And all you're doing is robbing yourself of the opportunity. The most important things that anybody can do, no matter the instrument, no matter the medium of doing it, you just have to get up there and do it, but you also have to put the time in first and really, really practice your stuff. You were asking me, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, I finished a live stream, you're like, how do you remember all the chords to those songs? And I'm like, dude, I can't even count how many times I've played these songs. It's just, there's no hidden secrets. There's no shortcuts with certain things. It's just having the time. And, we both have kids. We both have other stuff that we have to take into account. So to anybody who is really serious about going into music in any capacity and you don't have a ton of responsibilities, this is your time to put in the legwork, because you can do it, as Rafa has proved here, you can do it later in life after the things and start gigging after you've had the children, all that stuff. But if you go into it already having put in that time and that practice, it's just going to make it all that easier. You're going to have a little bit more confidence, and most importantly, when you go to perform, you're going to have less things to worry about. It's the way to go about it.
Let's just say it is the time. You have to put in the time to learn things to a decent level. And my suggestion to anyone that wants to start doing this and think, I have 20 songs, which was my idea, I need to fill 3 hours. You don't. Learn 3 songs, 5 songs. Learn one song really well. Play that to your family. Learn 2 songs really well. Because it's harder to forget once you've learned it than it is to not know and go from, I'm going to play this intro and that riff and that chorus and this song that I can see when I'm looking. Because that's what I did as well. So laser focus on each song or a set of songs. It just gets you there. Don't quit. Go on.
Yes, that's the most overwhelming part, and you're not here yet. You will be. I know you will, because you go around this track. Once you have gigs that are upwards of 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 hours, those little things that you think of, like, I need to do this trick into this song, or I can modulate from this key to this key. These songs work relatively well, but don't feature a similar chord progression. Oh my God, forget it, man. Forget it. That is just a whole nother level of just, it's fun. I love doing it, but it's as complicated as you make it. So anything that you could do to make it a little easier once you really start playing the longer gigs, and if you want to start playing weddings or cocktail parties and stuff like that, it's inevitable. They're going to be longer. But when you're starting out, you gave perfect advice. Don't overthink it. Don't over make a set list. You don't need all those amounts of songs. Just go out and nail 3 or 4 songs and then just go done. You're done. Whatever. And then all that anxiety you have, it goes away. Because, that wasn't so bad. That was only 3 or 4 songs. And then you just progressively keep building and building and building. And before too long, you will be able to ramble into a microphone and play on your guitar for hours on end to strangers, even if they're not really even there to listen to you. It is what it is, man. It's beautiful. But what I want to say here is I want to have you back on to talk about gear. But I was really happy that this ended up going the way it went, because the last one was coming from with Evan. I enjoyed that because it was just all about just listening to music and what we grew up listening to, passions and stuff like that. That's another conversation I'd like to have with you, but I feel what got lost in the translation from YouTube in general, I'm hammering it home, but it's just getting up and going and doing it. And I was so proud of you, and I'm so happy for you that you're really doing it. And I wanted to make it a focal point that would be what our first conversation would be about today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And what Evan said is also important.
Oh, yeah.
Having a musical background is the first step in any instrument and playing. So I really enjoyed listening to that. Thank you so much for having me. And I must say, you have been really supportive. Even before there was Patreons and memberships and any money was traded, you were always there to give advice and to just chat and share pictures of kids. So Thank you very much, and I'm surely open to come back and geek out on gear that is completely unnecessary but very fun to talk about.
Yeah, and that's always always the topic I've hated the most. I appreciate what you're saying, but I don't like the monetary aspect of any of it. I really don't. It's just, I don't know. You're not gonna find me making reaction videos or doing stuff like that.
Yet, one day I might convince you.
No, you might, but it'll be complete satire. It will be clickbait to get you to think I've done it, and it will just be me watching a video and just mocking reaction videos. If I ever do it, that's what I'm gonna do. So anybody who listens to this or is in, the live streams, I said if I ever get that desperate, all I'm going to do is just slam the process. I think it's so lazy. Just watching somebody with their headphones on, watch a YouTube video just like this. Oh yeah, that's cool. Oh, I like what he did there. And then they pause it and they talk. Come on, guys. It is what it is. Different strokes for different folks. But that's where we're going to leave this one today. Thank you all for checking this out. I'm definitely going to have Rafa back on. And yeah, this was a lot of fun. So I hope you have a great rest of your day. Tomorrow, I don't know. Probably, what's tomorrow going to be? This is going to be posted on Sunday. So Monday, we'll probably have a game plan for the week. But until then, thank you for checking it out. Rafa, unless you have anything else you'd like to say to everybody. And also, plug your YouTube channel.
My YouTube channel, I think it's something Mr. Rafa Star with a Z. It's okay, don't worry. We will have a link in the bottom if you want to. My YouTube channel is like random reviews of random guitars and a few clips of me playing live.
But what I think you should be focusing on is leaning into the fact that you're really at the developmental part of playing live. Start going here and there. And then if you start now, in 6 months, you can look back
and see the
and
progress.
You can say, look this is how it is. And I'm proof of it. Look at how much better look at the places I'm playing. I'm not just playing 3 songs at an open mic now. You're going to be playing really well-paying gigs and all that fun stuff. And that will motivate somebody else to hopefully follow in your footsteps. But and we both do this. We both kind of suffer from the ADHD. I could get into another conversation about this, but I am going to cut this. I'm going to make sure the little one's okay. Again, thank you all for listening, and I can't wait to have you back on.